Hi, it's Steve Riley. Welcome to this episode of Great Practice, Great Life. And my life just got better, and I get to share with you why and how that happened. And I get to do that by telling you, if you don't already know, I am here today with the new CEO of Atticus. So Valerie Peterson, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Steve. This is, it's kind of hard to believe, but really exciting time.
It's a very exciting time. It's a very exciting time. You and I have known each other for quite a long time. I've known your husband, I think, even longer. So this is a wonderful, wonderful addition to my great life, having you part of the Atticus family. So thank you for joining, and thank you for this adventure. And today's podcast is going to really be a tough one for you, because we're going to talk a little about your history as an attorney and then how you became a CEO. But you're going to talk about 10 things that you learned as a CEO that you wish you knew as an attorney. Is that right, what we're going to talk about today?
That is absolutely correct. As an attorney and business owner, there's so many things I've learned. We could probably do about 6 hours because, I've done a lot of dumb things and learned a lot of things.
Well, I usually ask lawyers, and why don't you trust this person? And they say, no, I do trust them. And what they really mean is I trust them as a person. What I don't trust is their judgment. And this goes to the training and education and empowerment of the team member that you're trying to delegate to. Because really at the core of this, you're trying to teach them your judgment, which is very difficult because judgment comes from experience. So it's a very difficult thing. So like you said, it's easier said than done. So that's perfect. Number one's perfect. What do you think about number two?
So number two really falls around that empowered team and understanding that an empowered team will bring you the greatest success. I'm going to come back to this a little bit in another one of the things I wish I had known. But again, it's all about hiring those high performers, pay them what they are worth, make sure you have a really good onboarding process that allows your team of high performers to really understand what you're trying to accomplish, help them embrace your culture and understand your culture, and then empower them. Empower them to take tasks to completion without having to come to you for input at every stage, and empower them to make decisions without you, because our team can't learn unless they're empowered to make decisions and be allowed to make the wrong decision. You'll always want to support them, but you don't want them to be afraid to make a decision. Make a decision. If it's not one you would have made, you talk about it and say, hey, listen, I support you 100%, but here's where I would have handled it a little bit differently. Think of the learning that happens with that. So now this team of high performers is now even operating at a higher capacity. The trust is being built, and that the trust in the judgment is being built because you're saying, listen, here's what I would have done, even though, hey, I support you. I'm not yelling at you. I'm not upset with you for making that decision, but here's what I would have done. And it just opens up a great dialogue.
Ready for the next one?
I am ready for the next one. And this really blends into what we're talking about: finding high performers, compensating them, building a great team, not looking at it as an expense. And please, again, keep in mind, when I say team, I'm not talking, 10, 20, 30 people. It can be 2 or 3, whatever you need in your practice for the size of practice that you want to grow. But transparency and accountability. I did not appreciate how critical this is as a business owner when I was in private practice. And frankly, it took me years before I fully understood how transparency and accountability will form your culture for good or for bad. So this is the one that I probably have the most comments around because I feel so strongly about it. But let me just give you some examples of what it means to be transparent and also to have a culture of accountability in a law practice. What I would strongly suggest that you do as a business owner is have very clear annual goals and quarterly goals that are all working toward your annual goal. I'd love you to have a 4 or 5 year goal, but you know what? I would take, an annual goal in the absence of anything else. Make sure those goals are communicated to everyone on the team. Give everyone else on the team the ability to set their own goals that will help them help the company reach their quarterly goals. So every person working for you, again, whether it's 2 people or it's 22 people, all know what the company's driving toward. And now they all have their responsibilities in the way of goals to help the company reach that. With transparency, we're going to communicate how the business is doing on a monthly basis. So everyone feels like they're in the know about how we're doing in reaching those goals. The accountability piece comes in with everyone being very transparent about what their role is in working on the quarterly goals and the annual goals. And everyone's progress is evident to everyone else. And that allows team members to be accountable on their own. You don't have to have a heavy management hand when everyone is working toward the same thing. There's nothing that can bring a business down faster than team members not really understanding what others are doing, especially in a company with remote workers, or like Elder Council was, everybody worked from home. We didn't have a headquarters. And if you're not clear about what the goals are, what each person is responsible for, the natural tendency is distrust among others, or feeling like, well, I'm working harder than this person. That often comes out of a lack of transparency. Once I really embraced this as a CEO, we absolutely flourished in that moment. So I stopped becoming the funnel. I understood that it takes a team for us to grow, and I needed to empower that team and delegate to people that I trusted because I had worked with them. They understood our culture. They made good decisions. And when they didn't make good decisions, we talked about it, and they were able to move forward and make even better decisions, the next time. But without transparency, without the ability for people to be accountable to themselves and to each other on a team, your culture will suffer. And if your culture suffers, your growth will suffer as well.
So when you say accountability, what does that mean to you? How would you, considering I now work for you, explain to me what accountability means to you?
Sure. I think it has to start, however, with transparency, with everyone understanding what their responsibilities are, not tasks. Don't get bogged down in tasks. Well, what are their responsibilities? What are they trying to accomplish? And when everyone is clear on what they're supposed to accomplish, then you could set up what are called daily huddles, where everyone gets together. It's sometimes called a stand-up in the software development world. But for 5 minutes, you stand up and you tell everybody in the room the most important thing you are working on that day, or the most important thing you need to accomplish that day. You do this every single day. And that allows people to be accountable, self-accountable, because they're saying, here's what I'm going to accomplish. And if it's something that maybe doesn't make sense to somebody else on the call, they can say, help me understand, how this is helping in what you've said you're going to accomplish, this month or this quarter. And once you do this enough and you build trust, you'll be able to help people say, yeah, you know what? That was kind of a lame thing I said that I wanted to accomplish today. I can do better than that. And so you're helping each other be accountable, but you're also holding yourself accountable to what you say you're going to do, both in that day, in that week, in that quarter.
I love it. So so your daily huddle, your daily stand-up is an accountability practice, and also more or less an opportunity to coach and train and develop your team to be more in alignment with you consider the core objectives, the core directions.
Yes.
Okay.
And it eliminates any of that. Well, what is she doing? I'm doing more than she is doing, or it eliminates so much of that distrust among team members. And again, culture happens in an office of 2, and it happens in an office of 200. If you're not clear listening to this, what your firm culture is, I really encourage you, take a step back, take a day or so. Atticus could help you with this, but really take an honest look at what the culture of your current law firm is. And are you okay with that? Is that what you want it to be? Because it's never too late to take steps to kind of redirect the culture to where you want it to go.